permanency, which is a part of child welfare process. Um, and one of the permanency goals, prominent permanency goals, is adoption. And so this morning we kind of want to go over with the board and everyone about what it takes to make an adoption happen and the processes involved. Um, just to give you a little bit of background, um, the city and the board are now receiving quarterly reports, performance reports from the state. And one of the biggest areas that's outlined in that on the child welfare side is um, adoption within 24 months of a child coming into foster care. And that's a big area. It's a federal guideline, and it's also a state guideline that seek permanency, within those 24 months. So we wanted to kind of, overall Virginia, um, whether 24 months or beyond, really has low permanency rates with adoption, especially in time frame. And so it's one of those areas across the country that everyone is. So we thought this would be a good time to kind of educate the board and everyone on adoption. So first of all, the first slide that we go to, um, slide number 3.
Yeah, it's like continuity. Okay. There we go.
Provide an overview of how we during the pandemic and from the child welfare perspective. And um, so what we've always have done over the last 2 years, we created what we call situational management teams. And management teams are designed to be able to have a continuity of services. If there is a weather disaster, we can't have access to the building, there was a breakdown of any kind of sort that would uh, count us to kick in these teams to make sure that we're meeting our mandate, especially around CPS, foster care, and our in-home services. And so we already had these teams developed. So we've been providing um, CPS, in-person response, foster care intake and ongoing services, and in-home case management, uh, with everyone teleworking, but with our situational management teams kicking in to be our primary responders. So that would be um, today. There's probably 4 to 5 CPS workers that are designated to respond to new CPS referrals, and so um, that's kind of how the situational management teams work. We've been video conferencing our practice, and Jenny and the foster care team developed a real neat video system for family time, which is visitation, which we call is visitation time between relatives who have children in care to be able to see their children. We had to suspend the in-person family time due to the virus, but we developed a system where the foster families would uh, make videos and they would video stream back and forth so that parents could spend time with their children. And now we're starting to integrate family time back in-person basis. Of course, we foster parents with our foster team. We also started off having weekly meetings with our resource parents just to talk about COVID-related issues. Um, our children that are in congregate care and residential and group homes. Of course, we've been video conferencing with those that are out of the state and out of the area and staying on top of their treatments and the conditions in the centers. Um, and lastly, uh, the agency, we developed a public-private collaborative um, where we actually have what we call a foster care intake center. And the foster care intake center is a temporary home that we are utilizing for
Just leave it there.
children cannot join um, foster home because we may be waiting for test results or needing to make sure the child is cleared. Um, the home opened in May. We have a foster parent who would be the assigned parent. Knock on wood, we not have not to use the home, but it's really public-private collaborative and connect with the Wish, and so it's a very, I think, an innovative home that we've started, and we are now in month 3 of operating that home. So it's kind of a snapshot of how we've been providing services. Anyone have any questions? Okay, so we're going to kind of start into the process of adoption. And of course, it will, it's a very scaled down kind of orientation to the adoption process. So if you want to go to the next slide, Jenny, you want to start on the first slide?
Hear me? Okay. I think that folks would be very surprised to find out what actually goes into an adoption, and what. Can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, my little mute thing's lit up. Okay, but it's a pretty arduous process. As of today, Virginia Beach has finalized 23 adoptions. So that means 23 children that are now with their forever families. Actually, there's 5 major steps to completing an adoption. And if you go back to the PowerPoint that says achieving the goal of adoption, it lists them, where we have a family assessment document, a full disclosure document, which can be up to 30 pages or more, a child needs assessment and determination document, and then we have to go through the legal process. And then we also provide what's called post-adoption services. So for any child that's adopted through our agency, we provide services for that child up until the age of 18, and some up until the age of 21, which I think some folks are surprised to hear. The next slide talks about what a family assessment is, and that is, we can't start looking at an adoptive placement until a child has been in that home for a minimum of 6 months. And the assessment really digs into whether or not the family is in a position to care for that child. Are they willing to make a lifetime, long-term commitment to this child? The adoption worker then has to complete, again, background checks, CPS, criminal background checks, financial checks on these parents, employment verifications, references, and the pre-adoptive parents also have to have physicals and TB tests before we can move further in the process. Once that's done, and that can take some time, we get to the full disclosure document. What we have been fortunate is up until June, we had a contract with the state for 3 years that gave us a staff person who was a state contract person who did our full disclosures for us, which was really a gift. And so what that person was able to do is really work ahead. So this wasn't a roadblock for us. So when we knew a child was coming to the adoption unit, that staff member started the full disclosure at the beginning. And like I said, that's a document that can be upwards of 30 pages or more. Basically, that gives an adoptive parent all information, all transparency, all full disclosure, hence the name, about what a child is about, their family of origin, talks about any kind of genetic diseases, disorders, trauma the child or the birth parents may have experienced, other siblings. It's just a really comprehensive picture of that child and birth parent's life. And we're required to be as transparent and complete as possible so that these adoptive parents understand what they're getting into. Once that is complete, we do what's called the child needs assessment and determination steps. What that does is we have a state negotiator, and that negotiator, the parents fill out the adoption assistance agreement, and then they come to the table and meet with the state negotiator. At that point, they negotiate how much financial support is that family going to need down the road to care for that child. And that's what the negotiation process is. And at that point, they come to a sum, and then the adoption assistance agreement based on the negotiation report is written. And if the family agrees, they sign it. And then after that point, they sign the adoptive placement agreement. And that basically says the child is in their home and we are moving forward. Any child age 14 or older has to consent to an adoption. So they're required to sign that adoptive placement agreement. At that point, we forward those documents to Eileen, to Director Smith, and that's when the child's funding switches over to adoption assistance, which is a huge, huge thing. Our adoptions are finalized in Virginia Beach Circuit Court, and we have some very good adoption attorneys here in the area who provide services to our families. So they retain an adoption attorney. Director Smith signs the consent to adopt. We file the petition with court and receive back an order of reference. And the judge signs off on the final order of adoption, which is huge. We just got 2 this week. And if you've never been there when a family gets one of those, it's pretty amazing. Yeah, it gets me kind of teary when I talk about it, because it's a huge deal, because then those kids know and these parents know that you are part of our family and you're not going anywhere. And for a lot of these children, that is a huge deal, especially the ones that are old enough to understand. Post-adoption, as I said, we serve our adoptive families up until the child reaches 18, but it can be extended up to the age of 21 if the child has special needs or a mental health diagnosis that they need continuing care for. We make contact minimally once a year with our post-adoptive families, and that's to have them, they continue, as I said, to get their negotiated rate every month. And so they check in every year and resubmit their paperwork. And people probably also didn't know that we prepare all of our adoption records to be sent to the Library of Virginia, where they're preserved. And also what Virginia Beach does, all agencies do if they have the manpower, is conduct adoptee searches. So if you were adopted as a child from the city of Virginia Beach, you can contact the state and let them know where you were adopted, and they will contact our agency directly and ask for a search. It could be for their birth parents, it could be for their siblings, and it can also be in reverse. The birth parent could be looking for the child. So we do those types of searches too. And we've had many successful reunifications with adults who have been able to find their birth families that way. So the next page, from July 1st of 19 to June 30th of 2020. So where we are now, we've had 23 final orders entered. Our goal for this year is to have 40. I'm thinking we're probably gonna be very close to that or maybe exceed it. And currently right now we monitor 306 post-adoption cases. So those are families that have finalized their adoptions, and we continue to provide them services. Also a interesting thing that, again, I don't think a lot of people know, is that if you adopt a child from Virginia Beach or any locality, if that child then 2, 3, 4 years down the road starts to struggle or have issues, you can contact your post-adoption worker at our agency, and we have one that is assigned to do only those cases, and they can provide you services. They can get you before the FAP team. They can assist you with any type of therapeutic services, educational services that you need. So that's a huge benefit to our adoptive families. So, and I think I really like the fact that we highlighted these 2 cases. The one child was, if you see that screen, she was 4. She was born with a significant congenital defect, and was living in St. Mary's, and had been for 23 months. And the hard work of the adoption unit, they found an amazing family. And she is on her way to finalization. She moved to Northern Virginia, and she lives in their home with them, and they just absolutely adore her. And so that's a huge, huge win for her. And then most recently, a young lady who I worked with, I think a lot of us have worked with, she's 15 and has been residing in numerous residential facilities, and her last placement was a group home. And through just researching home studies and finding the right family, she is now placed in her forever family. And she has found the family for her. It took some It took a lot of effort on the adoption unit's part, but she is exactly where she needs to be, and she will have a family that can nurture and support her into adulthood. So, I mean, we have lots of stories like that are so successful. Want to take an opportunity to highlight that kind of work.
Absolutely.
Does anybody have any questions?
So this is Al. Great job, Jenny. Summarized a lot better than I could have. One thing that we were, before the COVID, we had spoke with the chief judge at the juvenile court about having an adoption celebration every year. And so hopefully once everything settles down, we'll start planning that. And what that will do is kind of put adoption, we want adoptions at the forefront, on the front burner. And I think we want to celebrate the families that have been joined together every year, but also with the court and with our other partners, because it takes a lot of partners to make adoptions happen, between the courts, between our private foundations that help us with searches, Dave's Kids. When you actually see that, it's really a real foundation that really helps to promote adoptions, and our state partners. But what it does when you celebrate, a family being formed through adoption and a family expanding, it puts that on the front burner, and it makes everybody work even harder and work better together to make sure that every child that needs that has that option and has a family that they can become a permanent part of. And so I'm hoping that once everything settles down, we can get that going and have that celebration during Adoption Month.
Just as a plug for Wendys, we do use Wendys Wonderful Kids. If you know, Dave Thomas was an adopted child. And so he has a program through Wendys Corporation called Wendys Wonderful Kids. And we've had some success with them. They assign a case manager to one particular child, and they work just ridiculously hard for weeks at a time, searching and preparing that child for adoption. So that's one of our partnerships. Catholic Charities also partners with us. Children's Home Society is also one of our partners that help us with finding and securing appropriate adoptive homes. So go get yourself a Frosty today, and it'll help.
Right. That's right. Really real. That's it for us. If there's any questions, concerns, or thoughts.
I always like to put a plug in. If anybody on the board has anybody that might be interested in fostering or knows anybody that's interested in fostering, please get in touch with myself or Al, and we'd be happy to put you in touch with our placement resource unit.
Absolutely. I'll turn it back over to you, Eileen.
I'm thinking Andy is going to chime in, I hope.
Oh, okay.
Andy? Okay. We can't hear Andy. He may be having some technical difficulties. So now
He's on mute. There.
He's on mute.
Should be fine.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I think I was muted on your end. There we go. Thank you very much, Al and Jenny, for the excellent presentation and all the good work that you and your staff are doing. All right. If everybody can hear me, I'm going to, real quick, if the members of the board would pull out and review the board minutes that have been provided in your materials for today's meeting. Take a look at those, and if once you've done that, if somebody would like to make a motion to approve those, I will entertain that motion.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
All right, Norma has moved to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second that. This is Donna.
All right, Donna has seconded it. Thank you very much. The minutes are approved. I don't know that there's any old business, and so I will go straight to the matters of the chair. we have some vacancies on our board right now. As you all know, last meeting was Martha's last meeting. She had announced that in advance, and we all wished her well. It also happens to be Angela's last meeting. Angela has moved out of the city of Virginia Beach to a neighboring city, and so as a result is no longer eligible to be a member of the Social Services Advisory Board. I have worked with Eileen and have sent you guys some material today, and we've identified a couple of potential candidates we would like to consider for the board opening. And before we discuss those, I would like to share that I've been the chair of the Social Services Advisory Board for about 4 years, and that is a nice long stretch. And I think that the time has come for me to transition out of that position. And so I am not resigning effective immediately, but I would like to begin a succession plan. And so I want to throw that out there as we discuss new candidates. I would like to, as part of this call, identify a couple folks who would be willing to serve on a nomination committee, that's my understanding. That's how it worked last time when Martha stepped down as the chairperson. I would serve on the nomination committee along with anyone else who is interested. And I would also be interested to know if anyone has interest in serving as the chair of the board. We have a good, strong board with active, good members. I think any of you would do a great job. And so any thoughts on that from anyone? Volunteering for the committee or putting your name forward to be the chair? Silence is deafening.
I'll help you with the committee, Andy. I'll be happy to do that.
Andy, this is
All right.
Joanna. I'll help you with the committee as well.
All right.
Yeah, I'd like to help with the committee.
All right. Now, just so you all know, being on the committee does not exclude you from consideration as chair. So if everyone joins the committee, that's not just a way to avoid being the chair. All right, so then I will plan on circling up with Joanna and Donna and Lucintia before our next meeting and have that conversation, and we will be in a position to report back next month. The two candidates, I will let Eileen, Director Smith, speak about the first one. Her name is Helen Thorpe, and she is someone who's been recommended to Director Smith. And so, Eileen, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay. Helena Thorpe was recommended to me by Eva Poole, who's actually the director of our libraries in Virginia Beach. And I believe Ms. Thorpe is actually on her board. Ms. Thorpe is a retired social services staff member from Portsmouth. So at one point in her career, she worked at the Portsmouth Social Services Department, which would be a real boost for us to have someone who understands social services and all of our programs on the board. So I had just connected with her real briefly. She sent us a resume and did her application already. So she's excited for the potential to be a part of this board.
I've sent a resume out to everyone. I've looked at it. It sounds like she's very well suited. And my inclination is to move forward and have Eileen and I meet with her, probably virtually in the next week or so, and to consider moving forward with her, though. But I'd like to hear if anybody has any feedback or comments on that.
She sounds like a good person.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with proceeding, Mr. Chairman.
I do
Okay.
as well. I agree. I agree.
All right. I think Eileen and I are going to shoot to move forward with that next week then. A candidate that I think would be a very strong candidate that I'd like us to consider is an attorney named Nicole Thurston, who is an attorney at my firm. My days as a board member are somewhat numbered, and so there would not be much overlap where we'd have two folks at the same firm. Nicole has worked with Councilman Berlucci historically on Pride events and things like that. She's very active in working on social services cases. She does a lot of adoption cases and stuff. She is, bilingual and comes from a Spanish-speaking home. She's young. We talk about diversity on the board, and one thing that we probably could be more diverse on is age. And so she is younger than I am. She's enthusiastic. I think that she's somebody who could potentially be a chairman of the board someday. She's got that level of commitment and organization. And so there would be some overlap while I kind of wrap up my responsibilities on the board, and we'd have 2 lawyers and 2 people from the same law firm, but that would be a short period of time. And so does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this
You
Susan?
Yes, yes. I think that's a great idea, Andy.
Okay. All right. Then we will.
Andy,
Yes.
this is Norma Brummage. Did you say that you had sent out the resumes for these 2 individuals?
I sent out the resume for Helena prior to the meeting. I did not send out one for Nicole. I sent it out maybe 5 minutes before I logged on to the call.
Okay, because I haven't seen anything. I didn't check my email this morning. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Excuse me, Mr. Richmond.
Yes.
This is Michael Berlucci. Good morning to you and to everyone.
Morning.
I'm so glad to hear you all discussing this because that's one of the I really wanted to join the call this morning is because I was aware that these vacancies exist, and it's really important to me, and I know for you as well too, to fill the vacancies, and not only to fill them, but to fill them with really good people. And it sounds like you all have done that, and so I just I'm really thrilled about it and appreciate it. And I would say if it would be possible, since you already have the talent bank application for one, to have Nicole Thurston, who I do know and have worked with and have in the highest regard, complete her talent bank application and get it to the city clerk. We're going to do some appointments on Tuesday, at least the nominating part, in our closed session meeting, and I would love to advance those names if possible.
So neither one of them have met Director Smith yet.
Oh,
and
okay.
So when would be the next round of nominations?
Probably in a couple of weeks after that. So there's no urgency there. Whatever timeline is best for you and your team. But I'm really glad you're moving forward to identify really good
Sure.
people who are interested and want to serve. And thanks for your service and for everyone else.
If there is a concern that the council may take it upon themselves to fill it with other people if we don't have names in by Tuesday, we can try to rush through and do that.
I'll make sure that doesn't happen. Well, I'll try my best, but I don't think we will.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you, Councilman Berlucci. Sounds like we're in a good position to move forward, and I'm excited about the new candidates. That is all that I have under the matters of the chair. So I will turn it over to Director Smith for the matters of the director.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It's very nice to see everybody, and the actual setup here is working today pretty well. Last time we had a little bit of snafus, but today we're doing pretty good. So it's great to see everybody. Just a quick update for me in terms of the agency. We opened our doors back up to the public July 6th. As you know, we were never really closed. We have 24/7 programs that we ran the entire time, as well as we did everything virtually for months during COVID. So we have never, ever stopped services. But we did open those doors back up to social distancing within our lobby so that people could come in. We don't have, we have all the chairs separated with little actual cue cards on the floor, so it looks kind of like a bad game of Duck, Duck, Goose or something in there, but because everybody's so separated, but it's working out, and most people are are wearing their masks. We've had a couple issues where some people didn't want to wear a mask in our building, and of course we don't deny services, but every staff member is wearing a mask for sure. So we're really practicing everything that we can in terms of PPE use, protective health use, as well as social distancing. And we continue to do that through the entire summer. I don't anticipate having any large meetings for the staff. I don't anticipate staff going to big conferences. As you can see, there's a little bit of an uptick in Virginia Beach and Norfolk and some other areas of our state. So we're going to be really mindful of that, protect the health and the safety of our clients as well as our staff members for the duration of the summer, probably into September, but we'll see how it goes. We may start doing a few different things where we can actually come together in September, but we're going to watch this track before we make any decisions. I'm really proud of all of our staff members, just a phenomenal job. I tell them all the time how thankful I am for them. They really have adapted well to this new modality of serving people. It took us a little while to get the equipment that we needed, but once we were up and rolling, I think everyone is just doing great. So I do want to say that about our staff members, just a terrific group of folks who are dedicated to public service, and really, really hats off to all of them. So many of them are on the call today. I do have Dee that's going to give you a SNAP update. We had a big surge up in SNAP applications during COVID. Right now, I would say it's starting to level off. Excuse me, starting to level off a little bit. But she'll tell us a little bit about SNAP and what's experienced. You know, her presentation last month was all about the numbers there and what has occurred. And so right now, I just want her to give you a minute or two of where we are, just as a follow-up to last week. Okay, Dee, are you on the call?
Yes, and I am at 3432 and just ran up the stairwell. So let me catch my breath here. Hi, can everyone see me?
Yes.
Hi, great. Good morning. How's everyone? I'm sorry.
I'm just laughing because you're out of breath.
Yes, I'm out of breath. Let me give me 1 second here.
Dee, I can come back to you if you want a minute. It's
Yes,
okay. I
if
can
you don't
talk a little
mind.
bit about. I will come back to you. That's okay.
Okay.
My other thing that I did want to talk about is a follow-up from the last meeting that we had. And it was when Martha asked me about what do we do with the police and how do we roll with that CIT team, which is our crisis intervention team, if you recall. And so we sent you out some information on that I just want to touch on. It was a graph that showed you from when we opened this first responder mobile team. Now, the crisis intervention team has been open since 2008. So I don't want to confuse that with this, but this is a different kind of advanced setup of it where we have a crisis worker that goes out physically with the police on calls that started in 2018 in November, and then has gone through last May our numbers for what we sent you, which means that during that time out in the community with the police, we have served 953 folks. And out of those folks, when we are evaluating them for a crisis, we are trying to get them to a hospital, to outpatient care, to whatever they need, as opposed to jail. And there were only 13 arrests during that time for all of these citizens. So that's pretty remarkable. And you can see the data in what we sent you. But if you had any questions on it, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can set up a more in-depth discussion if you want it. But I think the data kind of speaks for itself. It's incredible what we've been able to do with this team, with the police, to stop folks being incarcerated and to get them the help that they need for that mental health issue. All right, looks like Dee is up and ready now.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well and your families are doing well. So we have we've seen a lot of activity as it relates to our SNAP numbers, our Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program numbers. And since March 23rd, we've taken 6,751 new applications. And so I have just a phenomenal team of eligibility workers who are all working remotely and teleworking right now and just doing a phenomenal job with ensuring families who are food insecure during this COVID crisis have what they need. Also, we have been very fortunate statewide and across the nation as it relates to the SNAP program, as well as in Virginia, where citizens have received additional SNAP benefits during this COVID crisis. So for example, if a family's regular SNAP allotment amount is $300 and the max that their family could get is $450, we have been able to provide supplements for April, May, June, as well as July, up to the maximum benefit amount for families. We're also very fortunate because the state has implemented what's called the pandemic EBT cards. These are for families whose children receive free or reduced lunch. Many of these households don't receive SNAP benefits on a regular basis, but have been able to receive the pandemic EBT cards for children to replace the meals that they would have normally received during the school day at schools. So a lot of families have been able to receive those benefits. So we have really been fortunate in this state and across the nation with being able to serve families and help families as it relates to the pandemic. Also, we are gearing up and the application process has started for another program that we are administering, the Real Estate and Personal Property Tax Relief Program. That application opened up online July 1st. And so we are just waiting for additional applications to come in as it relates to the Real Estate and Personal Property Tax Relief Program. So if you all know citizens who have lost their jobs, Virginia Beach citizens have lost their jobs due to COVID, and they are residents of the city of Virginia Beach as of March 1st, please ask them to check the city's website and our website because they are eligible potentially to get reimbursed. Even if they've already paid their property tax bill, they are eligible to get reimbursed up to $250 for their personal property tax bill and up to $500 for their real estate tax bill. So that's $750 that they can put back in their pocket if they have already paid their bill, or even if they haven't paid their bill. We want individuals to be able to take advantage of this funding that City Council has put forth to help individuals that are COVID impacted. So thank you.
Hey,
Hi.
all right. Up next, we have the financial reports. So, Faye, are you on the line?
I am on the line. Can you all hear me?
Actually,
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everyone, even though you can't see me, which is a good thing on my part, but it is good to see everybody. So the graph is kind of sideways, but I'm sure that you all can still see it. The first graph, so we're going to be reporting the end of fiscal year 2020. So the figures are going to be some large numbers. So year-to-date figures, so that would be June 2019 to May 2020. We've spent about $89 million in benefits. 58% of that went towards SNAP, child care benefits, and TANF. And at the bottom of the graph, you'll see how many individuals have benefited from both from the SNAP, child care, and PANIC programs. The other 42% goes toward our staff and operations, direct assistance programs, and purchase service programs. And the breakdown is on the next graph. So in this graph, there's a little bit more detail. For the direct assistance costs, about 90% consists of costs related to the adoptions and foster care. And then the other 10% consists of costs from our smaller programs. For the purchase of service costs, 72% went to adult services and family support. And then 21% went towards our smaller programs. And then, as everyone sees, our non-reimbursable expenses ended at 7%. At the bottom of the graph, you'll see the number of individuals benefiting from both our direct assistance programs and our purchase of service programs. Okay, so on the third graph, it is a cost related to our juvenile detention center and our community corrections pretrial grant. And again, the majority of those costs are all personnel related because it is our staff who is providing those services. And at the bottom of the graph, you'll see the individuals benefiting from both the juvenile detention center and the community correction pretrial grant. So on the next graph, it is the comparison from where we were last fiscal year to this fiscal year. And so you'll see, like Dee was speaking of, you'll see that our SNAP benefits have greatly increased, and that's mainly due to COVID. But other than that, there really aren't any, well, you'll see there's also a discrepancy in our training, and that's also due to COVID because a lot of training was canceled and suspended. So on the next graph, you'll see the comparison of the Juvenile Detention Center and the Community Corrections pretrial grant, and where they were last fiscal year and where they are this fiscal year. Okay, so that's it for me. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Faye. Is Teresa on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Good morning.
Hi, Teresa.
How you doing? Hey, good morning.
Whenever you're ready, Teresa.
Okay, good morning. This is our CSA report through May 31st. Our year-to-date expenditure so far is $9.6 million, and our state budget is $10 million. If you look at the monthly spending, I did a 2-year comparison so you can see where we're at versus fiscal year 19 versus fiscal year 20. Last year, around this time, we were spending was about $8.8 million, and this year we're at $9.6 million during the month of May. You can see a difference in the spendings over the last 2 years. Below that is just a comparison, so you can see what the expenses, what we have spent the dollars on, so you can sort of see the comparison there. If you go to the next sheet, this is a breakdown, so you can really get to see, look at the pie graph to see how the expenditures are being spent. Some of our big ticket things is our private day school. The private day is up to $2.8 million, and we have served 91 children. Over the last couple of years, this number has really doubled. Last year, we were about 50 some, and when I first came, we were at 30. So that number is on the rise. And also we have our community-based services. We're at 1.5 million. These are the services that we're using to route services around the kids to keep them into the community so that we don't have to put them into group homes or residential facilities. And so those numbers are going up because we're trying to route kids into those community-based services. And so it just shows the counts. So far this year, we've served a unduplicated number of 413 kids for CSA. And then down below, it just shows a unduplicated number of the children that's being served. If you turn to the next sheet, this is a 5-year trend, so you can have a look to see a 5-year look back at May to see how the numbers have changed over the last couple of years. And so this is good so we can see how the spending has changed. Like I said, you can see that the private day has really changed over the last couple of years, and our community base also is where our community congregate care residential. And it just shows a look of how the expenditures have changed over the last couple of years. If you go to the next page, excuse me, it shows us a youth served by referral source, so you can actually see the numbers of who we're serving from CSB, from social services, and the court services, and the schools. If you look below that, it shows also the 5-year trend. You can see how much expenditures we have had over the last couple of years and how many children we have served. And then the chart beside that shows the child unit costs per fiscal year, how much is costing to serve these children. Does anyone have any questions?
All right, thank you very much, Teresa. Director Smith, anything else for you under matters of the director?
The only other thing that I would like to say is that a big thank you to Paul here, who I did not introduce, but Paul has actually done all of this, pulled this all together today for us so we could easily see all these presentations. So thank you, Paul. I really appreciate you being here today. He works with Angie Hicks. Yep, they're all fun. And that is all. I just wanted to let everybody know that we're back open and things are going very well and staff are doing a fabulous job. So that's it for my report.
All right. Does anyone have any new business that they would like to interject?
I have a question.
Yes. Susan?
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, the children in school who are receiving services in school to help with their individual disabilities, does social services have any programs for kids like that, especially because while they were doing the online learning, they weren't really receiving any of the help that they needed for individual disabilities. And if they go back into school this fall and they're not receiving that help, they're not really getting the education that they need in a way that works for them. So does social services have programs to help children like that?
Okay. In the schools, I'm thinking more on the CSB side, we have had some assistance from Jim's Child and Youth Program where they have done the after-school program to help the children, and whether they have a disability or not, he has been in there with his staff and a couple schools that he got into. In terms of in the schools for a child with disability, child welfare, and Al can speak to it, that they don't really go inside the school to assist with the disability factors or the disability education. That would be under the special education area. Al, anything to add for that?
Oh, I think that's it. Because anything specifically, we don't have any services specifically in social services, on the social services side, that would assist the children. That there are, through CSA, some children, receive some assistance in school. I'm not quite sure if those community-based programs would be able to go to the home to provide support in the homes, because those are more supports for children, behavioral supports in the school system. But we will definitely research the question and to see if what's out there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Becky China is on the phone today. She might be. But the private day that you saw Teresa talking about, that's where they actually move them out of the public school and into a private day program so that they can get their education and a little bit more of what you're talking about, which would be that supportive help. Now, during the time of virtual education, the last 3 months essentially of school, almost, I am not aware that they went to the homes to do that. They were probably doing what every other teacher was doing, which would be Zoom sessions.
Right, right. And so they weren't able to provide the individual services, and someone asked me about it and said, is there any other option out there? And I said, something, I'm going to ask. I'm just going to ask if there's any services that are provided in the absence of the school being able to provide it.
Right.
So that's why I'm asking.
Sure. Okay.
All right. Anything from anyone else? Looks like next month we will still be meeting remotely. And so be on the lookout for that. And like I said, I'll be circling up with Jelena, Lucinthia, and Donna, and we'll be able to report back to you on hopefully some progress on a new chairman. And aside from that, I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I will see you guys next month.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye,
Keep up the
everyone.
good work.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Great.